I just want to invest in people that really want to be the best that they can be.
Hello, everyone. It's Todd Scrima and the lovely Robyn, LaVassaur, and Jim Reed. We're here doing another podcast for loan officers. We're all dying over here. What the hell's going on? The earth is shattering. Everything's going to hell. No, it's not. We're joking.
That's the biggest problem. Things like that.
Yeah, it's just a little hard time. So we banter about these subjects for about 2 minutes and then start recording because we want it to be a little natural, a little off the cuff. We have two of the best leaders in the mortgage business with Robyn and Jim, and I posed them a question, which, what's the new job? And Jimmy, this actually came from you in doing some teachings that I attended, and I thought it was great. And if you could preface this by telling us what you mean by here's the job.
I think we spend a lot of time on job descriptions for our loan officer assistants, right? Top 3 jobs. And I think that, we've got to spend more time talking about what the top 3 jobs are for ourselves and make sure that we have them prioritized correctly and that we're doing them every day. The most common question I have for loan officers when I first talk to them, like if I see them in the morning or when I see them, I'll just be like, hey, what'd you do to originate today? Just ask them that. And they're just and I think that mindset is what needs to change. Like the job, what's the job to be a loan rep? Like what's the job description if you were going to create a job description of the top 3 jobs for a loan rep? Right? And so the new job is highly active and highly visible. So the new job is you are a title rep, you are an underwriter, and you are a manager all at the same time.
That's a lot.
But it is a lot. People say that to me, and I'm like, well, we get paid a lot. Did you think it would be easy to make a lot of money? That's the worst thing about our career path is that sometimes it has been really easy to make a lot of money, and it kind of messes us up. But look, the job is to be part of 2 organizations that are in the industry and be on the committee, be the secretary. That's the job, so that you're highly active and highly visible and influential. The job is to get in front of, face-to-face, belly-to-belly with at least 20 realtors a week, at least, in individual or small groups. The job is 30 outbound calls a day to past clients, current clients, referral partners, and realtors. Right? The job is to visit at least 8 offices a week, the same 8 offices every week forever. And I teach a segment on that, which is too long for this call, but that's the job, right? The job is not Birkenstocks and a tank top and a hat and taking refi orders. The job is highly active and highly visible. And I made a deal with my loan officers that anything in the past, we're not allowed to talk about it anymore. Like if one of my loan officers starts talking about anything that happened more than about a week ago, I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't matter to me. I don't want to hang out with people talking about how many yards they rushed for in high school football. I'm 55 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
It was a couple years ago.
I'm not talking about high school football. I'm not talking about how fast I ran the 400 in high school. It doesn't matter.
Jimmy, I as a testament to what you're saying, I ran into one of your 20-year loan reps just 2 weeks ago in the lobby. And I said, hey, what's happening? She's talking. She says, hey, she was all excited. I said, what's going on? Because I've seen her the time before that. She wasn't excited. And she said, well, Jim, you know how he's got me going to those 8 offices? And I'm like, yeah. She says, I got 2 deals this week from that. I just visiting those boutique offices, and I'm super excited, and they're really nice people, and the clients are great, and I think I've got 3 more coming. And she was just all bubbly and excited. So it works.
You have to find joy in it.
You saying that right there, Jimmy, the joy in it. I always like to transpose myself, or I don't know if that's the right word, but I always like to put myself as if I worked somewhere else in a different industry. And I think to myself, if I was working down the street in an office building, whatever, doing whatever, and I came into work, and just hear me, because this is going to sound, I think some people hear things and they frame it the way they want to frame it, right? Like, Jimmy, I guarantee you what you just said, someone said, well, none of the realtors go to their offices, so that's why I don't do the milk run, right? That's why I don't stop by those offices. Like, they immediately start. So if you find yourself, even during this podcast, constantly naysaying what somebody else says, that in itself is not doing the job, right? That's a problem, because you are not open and curious to possibility. And the only calls that don't get returned are the ones that were never made. So if we're not having those conversations, but I think the other piece of it is, I always think, hey, so you show up to work and you show up late. You show up inconsistent in your attire. You show up inconsistent in your behavior and what you're choosing to do every single day. You're for sure inconsistent in your attitude and how you feel about being there. Would we be employed elsewhere, right? I think that's part of what I always, like, that has kept me in check for years, honest to God, like that I use that constantly on myself. Because when we have all the freedom as a loan officer, if you will, of being a self-employed, 100% commission, you get to do what you want to do mentality, the ones who really make it treat themselves like an employee that every day has to show up and do the job at the highest level. Those are the ones that make it. And I think that we get very lost in the emotions, the choices, and you can't work at Costco and get lost that day and like, I'm not really in the mood for Christmas holiday stuff to be here, so I'm going to pout and stomp my feet and show up a little late because I'm anti, reindeer.
Robyn, it's the choices that messes them up. It's the choices that mess us up. Choices are what mess everybody up. Right? It's the choices. And that's like the Todd start to the show was, hey, what's the job? Right? So we spend a lot of time doing job descriptions for people who work for us. Mm-hmm. Spend some time doing a job description for a loan officer. That's the job. And stop considering it a choice.
Yes.
That is what that's when we do that, markets don't matter. When we do that, markets don't matter.
100%.
There's no way that you could work 50 hours a week and do the things I just described and not be able to provide for your family. It's impossible. It's not improbable. It's impossible. You could be terrible and you could still do enough loans to provide for your family. Hey?
And not just provide for your family, but make more money. One of the things we challenged, and I would challenge any loan officer in the marketplace, to look at your W-2 this year, even if it's lower than years past and you're, that feels emotional or it's like getting on the scale, and then make a list of jobs where you could do what you've done this year for that amount of money. Because it's almost done, Jimmy.
We're acting like they have a choice when they don't. Thinking you have choices is the problem.
Yes. And yeah.
Or maybe it's better said Todd, to say not making a choice is the problem.
Not making a choice. So either 100% in committed or 100% out and do something else.
What you're going to do and then actually do it.
I was listening to Alex Hermosi, and I listen to almost every podcast he does, and he said something a couple weeks ago that was very, very interesting to me, because it's something that I've been going through, and I'll try and articulate this. He said, my life changed when I let go of the outcome, lived in the moment, and just did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm no different than anybody else. You go from making unbelievable money to barely surviving. Forget about whether you have savings or not. It still doesn't feel good.
No.
It doesn't matter what your situation is when your results go down. So it takes a lot of emotional fortitude and understanding. To me, I think to just realize that, hey, if you're going to do X and you're going to do the job, like Jimmy's saying, that it will reward. And it may not be in 2 months. It may not be in 4 months. It may not be in 6 months. But you keep doing the job. Now, to your point, Robyn, employees don't have that choice because they either show up or they get laid off or fired or written up or whatever.
Yep.
But that is now starting to happen on the loan officer side, where I was talking to someone I was interviewing the other day, and he said, well, yeah, my company just fired, I don't know, 25% of loan officers or something. I was like, oh, and I knew the company, but I know why. Is like the company looks at it and says, gosh, I'm paying, $1,000 a month in health insurance benefits and matching payroll taxes and sometimes minimum wage and credit reports at $600 a month. And they're like, there's not enough revenue, so it's actually a loss, right? So it's just, I think this is a time for growth, emotionally and mentally.
Yes.
And that's how I take it.
Well, and what Jimmy talked about, the basics. Again, people want a shiny pill, and the magic that some other solution, if you will. And the bottom line is you have to decide just to do the job. And every loan officer, and I bet Jim would say the same thing, every single loan officer of mine that works alongside us in the branch, when they're not doing the job, they're frustrated and they have a lot of other things. When they are doing the job, the results might not be 2020, 2021 results. Who cares? It's gone. Like Jim said, you ran you were a great running back in high school. It doesn't matter anymore. Like it doesn't, what matters is right now. And all of a sudden they get in, and I have a loan officer right now. She's closing 7 units in November. And on our sales call, I said, tell them what you're doing different. And she said, about 45 days ago, I started doing my theme day calls without fail every single day. Now she was closing,
harder work, the luckier I get.
She was closing 1 or 2, and now she's got 7 built up, and the contracts just keep coming. She's like, I don't even feel like it just keeps showing up. She's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on everything. Jimmy says something so brilliant right now, Todd, and I have it plastered everywhere, and that is the solution is connection, and the problem is isolation. And when you are connected to your realtors, when you're connected to your client, when you're connected to your own disciplines and accountability, your own energy level, when you stay connected versus isolated, you're going to win in all of that. And there is a basic routine of make a lot of phone calls, see a lot of people, right? So be impactful, find needs, fill needs. And if you do all of that every single day in the space that you're representing, you're going to win. It's literally almost impossible to lose unless you're really not likable or you're only talking to people that could never help you. That's at least how I see it.
I agree.
Yeah. Jim, explain more, because Robyn set that up, but I think it's very insightful, very important. When you say that saying, expand on that a little bit, because I think it's very valuable.
Connection as a solution?
Yes.
Well, expand on it. So, you ever met somebody who surrounds themselves with people who only agree with them?
Yeah.
And when you see that person, they're alone, even in a crowded room. That's the beginning of a not a good path, right? And so that's a hidden isolation. And, a more obvious isolation would be someone struggling with addiction, right? They isolate so no one knows the bad choices they're making, and it allows them to keep making bad choices, right? And the other thing that happens when you're isolated is you're not serving other people.
Amen. When
you're isolated, you're only serving yourself. Well, that doesn't feel good. You're not attractive. You don't have energy when you're just serving yourself. But if you decided to just trust me for a minute, and for 30 days you just served others, by the end of the 30 days you would understand exactly what I'm talking about, because you would have everything that you wanted, and others would have more than they asked for. It's like creating a win-win. But connection can be challenging. Like having connection can be challenging because you have to be vulnerable. And if you've ever been burnt or hurt, people will lean towards isolation as a protection, right? They're little walls. And it's like you've been married before and you got divorced. I'll never get married again. It's a pretty lonely life. And it's holidays aren't as much fun. But if you're going to be married again, you got to be vulnerable and be willing to fail. That's a lot to ask.
It is.
But it's worth it.
Says the newly married man.
It's worth it.
You're darn right it is, Jimmy. And life is, it is a proven fact, psychology-wise, everything. You live a longer life if you are connected to people, if you are helping other people. It is a proven fact that you are happier in sales if you are finding needs and filling needs. Like, that's the truth. It's actually so much more simple than we want to give it credit for. And because because things are different now, this is the new market. This has always been the job. The job has never technically changed. There was just some alterations for a couple of years then. That was when it was different. We're not, right? This job
Totally agree. Short memory, yeah, we have short memories. The job has always been what it is now. It was different for like
a window. Yeah. So go to the job.
Well, jump in and do it all.
Do the job.
If you email me, I have a video I recorded of a new job plan that anybody, no matter how long they've been in the business, if they wanted to restart and rebuild, if they did my job plan for 6 months, they would, because they could completely rebuild their career. I told you, Todd, I think a person has 3 careers, and I'm just starting my 3rd career, right? And you're going to have to restart your careers at some point. Well, let's start from the beginning again.
I would also add to that's pretty normal. Like, if you talk to friends that are accountants, or they run a business, or they're a nurse, or any profession, they do go through different phases.
Yes, of course.
And hopefully we get wiser. Hopefully we get better at getting the results quicker and all that. But it still takes time, right? Something that we do, whatever you're living today is a result of the activities that you did, 30, 60, 90 days ago. And so there's this delayed reaction that I think gets psychologically confusing.
People get confused. They think the 3 careers are learning, growing, and then maintaining. It's learning, growing, and then learning again.
Yes, that is so good, Jimmy. You guys are going to laugh at this analogy, and then we can close up because I know we're pushing time. I was just thinking as you were saying everything, when I was a little girl, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Perms were really popular. Were you guys popular in the perm era? Perms are really popular. Imagine if you were a hairdresser that was like, all I do is perms all day long, refis, type of thing. And then you decided you quit, you quit cutting hair, you quit coloring hair, you quit, learning all your basic skills, if you will, because you're just the perm master. Well, there's a new era. There's no perms to be had. So you better figure out how to use those scissors again, right? Like, it's.
I had a buddy who got a perm back then. What was wrong with that? No perms.
For a man, I believe it was called a baboom or something like that, Jimmy. So
that I never
have one.
Well, guys, cycles will never change. Change will always happen, right? And so, do we have that zest to overcome and say, hey, I'm going to relearn this stuff. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be, even more outgoing and passionate and happy, even though I may not be getting this result that I think I'm worth. All of those. I just think I literally think this is like a petri dish of learning. It's like a chess game. And if people think that's exciting because they enjoy learning and they enjoy the challenge, those are the people that will do super well, like super well. You guys realize, and I don't want to sound negative when I say this is just statistics. We have 188,000 loan officers in the industry a year ago. Now it's down to around 90,000. We're probably going to go down a bit more. So if you really look at it, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, hey, the business is going to come back to normalize and there's going to be 70% less loan officers.
Yep.
That's just, now, if you also are learning new skills during that time and doing pretty well, or even good or okay, you're going to do great. So it's just, to me, I hate to say that, but it's like common sense to me. Although
Yeah.
it doesn't.
But even if it doesn't, bro, you could make $250 a year doing this, and you don't even have to be great at it. Like, who cares
Still.
what the people ask? The
Yep.
job right now is plenty good enough.
Yep.
Yes,
Amen.
yes, 100%. Okay, guys, if you want Jimmy's, Jimmy, what's your email in case someone?
Jim Reed, JREED at Summit Funding, SUMMIT funding.net, NET.
Beautiful. That's if you want Jimmy's video on his tools. And guys, I started in Summit, a nationwide once a month learning, how to make another $20,000 a month in the next 30 days. I just had, I'm in the middle of teaching it, and we had 500 people sign up for that, and we hardly even advertised it. I'm doing it for free. So I was going to do it anyway for Summit Funding Loan Officers, and I just opened it up to the public for free. If you want that invitation, because it reoccurs every 2 months, if you want a textable sign-up form for that or want a video about it, text me to my cell phone. Please don't call me, but you can text me because it's the easiest, fastest way I can get it to you is 916-769-9031. 916-769-9031. What?
Nothing.
No, I did this on Carl White's podcast and probably had 100 people text me, and I just sent them the invitation.
Well,
Enjoyed. So just an easier way to reach someone. Guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Robyn
you.
and Jim. You guys are awesome. Have a great month, guys. Go kill it. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
team.